Jobs dependent on establishments and dependent on institutes and dependent on hospitals, which obviously cannot compete with the growth of skilled population.
Correct. It is the resistance or the courage to start
The
actually.
confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is about believing that you have the right level of skills. If my father is already an established ophthalmologist, I go and get to sit in that kind of a place.
Yeah.
Or if my mother is an established ophthalmologist. But if I'm starting on my own, I have to take my baby steps towards the process.
So I think we should not undermine technology. We should not undermine the fact that there are also newer hospitals, the rate at which newer hospitals are coming up, and the investment that they are doing in facilities. They are going to be more welcoming. Hi everybody, I am Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi. I am the ENT faculty at PW MedEd, and today a very important hot topic. A lot of you are already thinking and pondering about this key saturation in fields of ENT and opthal. And to discuss this with me, I have Dr. Sudha over here, who is a faculty of ophthalmology. So, Dr. Sudha, from an opthal standpoint, what do you think? What is the consensus? Is saturated or not saturated? What's your take?
Actually, Dr. Jagdish, it depends on how you look at it. Now, if you look at it in terms of jobs available to a fresh postgraduate who has just finished his graduation, you might say that yes, in some jobs may be saturated, but then that level of saturation exists, I think, in all fields. But given the population of our country and the fact that the bread and butter of ophthalmologist is actually cataract, and the fact that the life expectancy of our population is increasing, and all of us are going to develop cataract at some point in time. And the other spectrum is refractive errors and refractive surgeries, which is, and as people are becoming more cosmetically aware, a lot of people are opting for it. Now this is like the bread and butter of ophthalmology. We branch out into other specialities. Now, given our population and the doctor patient ratio that we have, I don't believe that it can actually get saturated. So if you're not able to get a job, you have to then think about starting your own. And after you have acquired the necessary level of skills, so once you do that, and over a period of time, I think that if you have the right level of skills, your patient communication skills are good, and if you are giving good care at affordable cost and you are accessible to the patient, there is no reason why you should not succeed. So
Absolutely, I fully agree there, and I think with ENT also, I would echo the same things. I think students, it's important to understand the difference between how these terminologies are used. So there is
Correct.
one thing called saturation of jobs, and there's one thing when you say saturation of an entire field. They, I think, mean different, because saturation of jobs means there are jobs dependent on establishments and dependent on institutes and dependent on hospitals, which obviously cannot compete with the growth of skilled population.
Correct.
Anywhere in the world, jobs are always a shortage. I don't think there is any debate there. But equating the shortage of jobs by saying कि वो पूरा field ही saturated है, I think is a bit misleading to students like you, because it kind of means that there are no patients in opthal or no patients in ENT left to be seen. That is when it would mean that the field is saturated. But I don't think with 1.4 billion and maybe a few thousands of ENTs and opthals, that is possible. But Dr. Sudha, that brings me to a question to you. When people say, how do we start? It is extremely expensive. And their kids have polarized view. वो सीधा बोलेंगे 5 crores. Either I have to spend 5 crores for setup, or I have to get in line. In fact, one ophthalmologist in a Twitter battle with me said that to set up an ophthalmology OPD, I have to spend as much as funding a national space program. So,
That is, see, there is no denying the fact that ophthalmic equipments are expensive. But then, as you said, it is, I don't think starting up your practice means that you need to have all the investigative modalities available in the armamentarium. You need to have everything, like all your machines, your microscopes. It's actually not like that, because like you start your setup and it's not like tomorrow you're going to get a list of patients to operate. It doesn't happen like that. It takes time to build practice. So what generally people do is you invest in an OPD setup, which means that you have a slit lamp, you have your refraction chair unit, and then you start, and as your practice builds, you start investing a part of your of whatever your earnings are into building your equipment. And in the meantime, there are other ways of like doing surgery. If you have a patient, you can always take it to a laser center. You can rent an OT which has the necessary equipment. And because in case of ophthalmology, like our sterility is very
Yeah.
very very important, so we generally trust good places, good operation theaters,
Bilkul.
where we have trained personnel, we have trained nurses to take care of all these things. So people take their patients there, they rent the OT and they do their cases. So it's not like you have to buy the phaco machine and the microscope to be able to operate your first case. It doesn't happen like that. Setting up a practice is also a process, and it can be done gradually. As you keep growing, you keep investing. So
I
it's
think
like that.
that's a very important thing Dr. Sudha is trying to say over here, is that you don't get to your fully fledged practice setup right from day one. You have to grow just like you grow in any career or any
Correct.
path. And sometimes you start with a stethoscope and an otoscope as an intern, and then you progress to having a small room with having some little extra equipment. Like in ENT, we can manage anything with a portable endoscopes that are available. There are small otoscopes and small, tools that we keep. And I think a simple basic 500,000 square feet in most places will not cost you too much. I would say 2 to 5 lakh rupees is a good starting point for most clinical fields, especially I think in ENT Optal also. I think that is a
You
decent
need
starting point.
you need a slit lamp chair unit, which I would say, yes, as a beginner you might find that it is a little stretching. But then I think that is not the hindering point.
Yeah.
It is the resistance or the courage to start.
Absolutely.
Actually,
The confidence.
yes,
Yeah.
it is about believing that you have the right level of skills, and it is also believing that you will be able to make it. Most people, the security, the comfort of a job is something that all of us want. So that's why when somebody tells us that the field is saturated, there aren't enough jobs, that is bound to happen. The number of seats in PG are obviously increasing much more than
Yes.
the institutions which are providing jobs. But then at the core of it, we have to remember that our branch to begin with is entrepreneurial. We are
Yeah.
supposed to be individual practitioners. I mean, there's nothing wrong about being a part of an institution. I mean that our job gives us the opportunity of
Yeah.
being on your own. So then it's the courage to start, and of course there are struggles and challenges, because it is a surgical field. It takes time to build your name, but I don't think that it's saturated. You can, if you do a good job, you will make it in a few years.
Yeah, and I think we also undermine a lot of what technology is playing today. I think there are, even in the space of Optal and ENT, newer Indian made alternatives, which are, of course, a lot more
Yes,
affordable.
yes, much more affordable.
Lot
Correct.
cheaper. Trinetra is one. I know the whole
There are
group
lots
very
of,
well.
yeah, it's not like you have to. And there's another thing that I wanted to
Yeah.
say. When you start, you don't start with buying the most expensive equipments
Absolutely.
either.
Absolutely.
You start with things that are within your range at that point in
Yeah.
time, and nobody says that you cannot replace them. Like if I buy a 1 BHK today, doesn't mean I stay in the 1 BHK for the rest
Whole
of my
life,
life.
absolutely.
Yeah, you always upgrade. So practice is a process. It doesn't happen in the first
Yeah.
go, like I'll have everything. That happens to people who have inherited practices.
Yeah.
Like if my father is already an established ophthalmologist, I go and get to sit in that kind of a place. Or
Yeah.
if my mother is an established ophthalmologist. But if I'm starting on my own, I have to take my baby steps towards the process, and it's very much possible. And one more thing is that if at all we talk about saturation, it is in maybe the big cities. If you just move a little away from the bigger cities, there is a dearth of qualified people actually.
Absolutely. In fact, not only big cities, I would say the peripheries which are expanding of the cities
Correct.
are also great opportunities, because housing colonies and apartments are all coming there as land is, expanding. And those are the places which are micro colonies that require healthcare. And I think people have moved with technology to more convenience based for immediate point of care. Just
Correct.
like you get lab tests at home, you get your food at home. People don't want to go and see a specialist really far away for something which they don't think is very
Very serious.
very serious.
Yeah.
Initially they just want a guidance and they want someone close by, and they go to that person, and then through that process they also go eventually to where they get their definitive care. So I think we should not undermine technology. We should not undermine the fact that there are also newer hospitals. The rate at which newer hospitals are coming up and the investment that they are doing in facilities, they are going to be more welcoming for other doctors to come and use their facilities, because then that's how they can recover their costs. So I've never faced any issue where people says, "No, you can't rent an OT in my hospital, or
No,
you
no.
can't read."
I-
It's being used. They will want people to come.
Correct. So as I said, it's more of a resistance to start and the fear that it
Yeah.
will not work. That probably hinders people
Yes.
from starting. But once you start, and your the initial years in a
Yeah.
private practice are always difficult. They are bound to be like in any entrepreneurial venture, because they say that like it's like seeing your baby grow. So the
Absolutely.
initial years are bound to be, there are bound to be teething problems,
Yeah.
and you have to keep at it. But then it's wrong to say that it is saturated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also to some freshers who want to venture into this, a lot of you ask, how can we just suddenly, we don't have the confidence, we don't know if we're doing the right or wrong thing. So just like you do your internship in medical college, I definitely recommend to be an observer with a privately practicing doctor or a small hospital, where you spend 2 or 3 months and understand some new aspects, because it's very different from a large institution in the way things function, in the way you interact with patients, and in the way the process of care is provided. And sometimes when patients see you with a more established surgeon, and you are also then being involved in the treatment process, it becomes more credible for you to then spin off, and then those patients come and become your pipeline. And just like me, many other doctors have worked with senior doctors who are established. They cannot take the load anymore, and you can plug in, and that is one way to
Yes,
learn.
that's how many of us start.
Yes.
Also, like
Yeah.
we start by assisting others, or yeah, by helping them, and gradually when they have like too many patients which they cannot manage, we start
Yeah.
seeing a few of those patients, and then we gradually branch out. So there are ways of doing things
Yeah.
if you want to. And
Absolutely.
as Dr. Jagdish said, this is actually very, very important, that when we get trained in a government medical college, and then we go into private practice. I would like to narrate my experience.
Yeah.
I started off with a senior ophthalmologist, and then by observing, I actually I would say I refined my communication skills a great deal by observing the senior person, because the way I was used to talking to patients or explaining things
Yeah.
to them was probably not really very suited to a private environment, and that thing actually needed refining. And by staying with the senior doctor for a couple of years, I actually learned a lot. Maybe the skills I had already acquired in my
Yeah.
college, surgical and clinical, but the presentation, the communication skills, they need to be
Absolutely.
refined. And these are like important things. Why
Yeah.
someone's practice grows
Yeah.
and someone's practice doesn't grow, is there are lots of factors to it, and that
Absolutely.
is not purely the investment. It is the
Yes.
skill, the communication, the availability. So we should rather we should try to nurture these things, and rather than always believing that we'll not do it, it's not going to work, is a very wrong way to start off
Yeah.
any venture. So
Absolutely, I think those are very important points on good clinical practices, which also includes communication, empathy, follow up, and all of those things.
correct.
But one special message for Gen Zs is, when you go for these kind of observerships or internships, don't expect a high-paying work-life balance kind of thing. This is a senior doctor who's already busy, and you are going to gain from
Yes.
shadowing them or observing them, whether they pay you or they pay you a little bit. Your need is to learn, and you should have that attitude to learn and get plugged into the system, get your foot into the door, and then establish yourself on your own. वहाँ जाके बोलोगे मुझे 1.5 लाख दो, मेरे इंजीनियर दोस्त को 4 लाख मिलता है, then that professor is going to ban you from their clinic.
Yes, I see. Initially, in a surgical branch, and
Yeah.
especially when you're starting off on your own, there are bound to be teething problems, but
Yeah.
that's a part of the process.
Yeah.
And in the long run, you actually stand to gain from it. So
Yes.
we have to look at it that way.
Absolutely.
So don't shy away from starting your own practice. And don't think that fields are saturated. I don't think so at all. I think that there is room for everybody, and it all depends on how you handle your own journey.
Absolutely. And likewise, I think it's fair to conclude that what we are saying here is that jobs may be saturated and may continue to remain saturated just because of the mismatch of the number of trained doctors coming out and number of establishments. But That doesn't mean that you cannot thrive in the field with the right way. You may not have gotten all the skills from your current training, but there are ways to acquire them. There are ways to start off. You just have to have an open mind to it, and we are always there to if you want to reach out for any advice or guidance. But Dr. Sudha, I think this was really good. I
Yeah.
also learned a lot. It was eye-opening experience for me, and I
For me too, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Dr.
Wonderful.
Jagdish, and to be a part of your session. And your eloquence, the way you talk, is always is inspiring, to say the least.
Thank you very much. I did an online MBA that helped me communicate. But anyway, thank you guys, and
Thank
all the
you.
best.
All
And,
the best.
Take care.